Hello guys. Welcome back again to Hollywood Recapped. Today I will recap the movie named The Rum Diary, released in the year 2011. Spoiler alert and take care. We begin by witnessing a private plane flying over the sea before coming to fly over a hotel. The aeroplane forcibly wakes up Kemp. He stumbles over to his balcony door and pulls back the curtain to reveal a sign indicating that we are in Puerto Rico. And Kemp goes to the bathroom to get some medicine. Room service arrives and begins to watch and pop pills. When the room service man looks around the room, he discovers that it is completely disorganized. Kemp takes a taxi through town after getting ready, and he appears to have taken many little bottles of booze with him. He soon arrives in the heart of San Juan, where a protest is taking place in the streets. He makes his way through the mob till he reaches the office of the newspaper. He'll be meeting the editor-in-chief Letterman here. While he waits, Sala reveals several things to him. Letterman eventually lets him in, and they go over his resume. He accuses Kemp of falsifying his resume. He is, however, extremely honest about what he is looking for. All he requires is someone who will not become involved in the alcohol and women of Puerto Rico. Kemp has a serious drinking problem. But, at this point, Letterman doesn't seem to mind. He leads him out, where he instructs Sala to show him around and informs Kemp that he will now be in charge of composing the daily horoscopes. Since the last guy was raped and killed, Kemp is so taken aback by what he's heard that he asks them 3 times before saying anything else. Kemp goes to the filing department after he recovers from the shock of the situation. He's going over past editions when he comes across Sanderson, who says they'll talk later since he likes the clippings he sent in the previous night. Kemp is taken to a local bar by Sala, where he meets Paul. Sala believes that the newspaper is about to close when Kemp discovers that he was the only person who applied for the position. Sala then points out a boozed-up man named Moberg. And he informs him that Moberg is the source of the paper's problems. Moberg became absorbed in the booze. When Sala delivers Kemp to his hotel, he discovers that a private function is taking place. So he goes out on the water in a paddle boat to drink. He's astounded when he sees Chanault swimming in the water. Chanault informs him that her lover would be giving a speech at the party and that she must return before they notice. Kemp then says something after she's gone. The next day, Kemp begins his job as a journalist, writing about the Yankees who are continuously going to bowling alleys and engaging in trivial activities. Letterman, on the other hand, is not pleased with his critical writing and encourages Kemp to rewrite on what he likes about the island. He also informs him that he will no longer be paid to stay at the hotel because he has consumed over 100 tiny bottles of booze. Letterman fires Moberg as he stumbles in to claim his paycheck. To pay off Letterman, Moberg grabs the monster. Then Kemp takes him to his office, where he is offered the role of Moberg. Letterman assigns Kemp the task of obtaining an interview with Miami's mayor right away. He rushes to the airport to see who's flying in. After a short wait, Sanderson arrives to invite Kemp to lunch. Kemp agrees to accompany the mayor after learning that his flight has been cancelled. Sanderson feels like a bad man it could be because he has studied his pet turtle. Kemp is taken aback when he learns that Chanault is Sanderson's girlfriend. Sanderson takes a moment to pitch an idea to Kemp, after catching a cab back to town. To move in, he goes to Sala's apartment. After discovering a rooster in the bedroom, he gets the grand tour of the spacious flat. Sala explains that he participates in cockfights in the area. He also takes Kemp to his rooster's next fight. Kemp takes a moment after watching the bout to gaze around the real Puerto Rico. He discovers children scavenging and living in the town's ruins. He also takes some photographs. They get in the car and drive back home after returning to Sala. Moberg learns that Kemp plans to publish a book about the kids and the misery he witnessed. He advises Kemp that he shouldn't waste his time on it. When he presents the article to Letterman, he receives the same response. Even though he is encouraging him to stop drinking, Letterman offers him drinks. Kemp learns a lesson how the higher-ups view Puerto Rico. He realizes that all they care about are the winners and the money that comes of being a part of the American dream. Kemp goes to Sanderson's house after a terrible night. While hanging to their boat, he uses the telescope to spy on Chanault and Sanderson putting it on. 2 older people appear out of nowhere and believe he's keeping an eye on the boat. Sanderson and Chanault introduce Kemp to Art when they arrive at the beach. He sees some locals lurking around in the trees and kicks them off his private beach. Later that evening Kemp stays for a little supper and listens to Art talk about how the Soviet Union was the worst thing on the planet. Kemp is taken outdoors, where he meets up with Sanderson and a few other associates. who wants him to write about some misleading ideas in order to assist them secure a no-objection certificate to build a hotel on a secret island. Even though Kemp is aware that this is unlawful, he accepts the invitation to meet with Sanderson the next day. Chenault appears out of nowhere to inform Kemp that Sulla is waiting for him outside, and she gives him a flirty goodbye. When Kemp arrives at Sulla's car, he informs him that he is in love with Chenault but is uninterested in Sanderson's business ventures. Their visit, however, does not go as planned, and Kemp spots the same men from the bushes that Sanderson warned to leave. Kemp has the perfect idea, he puts them into the car and drives away. Kemp uses the rum as a lighter fluid as they are pursued. He also accidentally sets fire to a police officer. When they arrive at the police station, they are brought to night court. They've been informed that they'll be sentenced to at least a year in prison. Just then, Sanderson comes, and after explaining the people he works with, he persuades the judge to free them. Kemp heads over to Sanderson to express his gratitude. And Sanderson is aware that he must attend the meeting right now. The next day, Sulla and Kemp retrieve the car, which has a missing front seat. After an exciting trip to the meeting, Kemp learns about an island that they want to develop into a major tourist attraction. Kemp signs a non-disclosure agreement and becomes a partner in the company. One of Sanderson's cars is given to him. He agrees to find him a location and requests that he pick up Chenault for him. When he picks up Chenault, she tricks him into a chicken game, and the two accelerate down the road until they reach the sea. She almost kisses him as they get out of the car to look at the ocean. Before anything happens, he stops her and then drops her off. When Kemp and Sulla go to the newspaper, they learn that Sulla is wanted by the police. Then Kemp persuades him to accompany him to the island the following day. Sulla and Kemp go out to the investment site, where they see the designs for the hotel and marina for the first time. After they finish their business, Sulla and Kemp catch a ride to St. Thomas for the carnival that Chenault is expected to be at. Kemp notices her dancing in the plaza after a few drinks and goes to surprise her. She takes Sulla and Kemp to Sanderson's boat, where Kemp is chastised for bringing Sulla to the island. This is where people begin to wash up on the beach. After drinking his booze, Sulla, on the other hand, is knocked out drunk on Sanderson's boat. The entire group goes to a neighborhood bar later that night, and Sanderson is ready to leave. Chenault, on the other hand, is drunk, and she backs away from him to dance with a man who is stripping bare in the middle of the dance floor. And she, too, begins to undress, causing Sanderson to freak out. He gets into a brawl with a group of locals, and he, Kemp, and Sulla are thrown out. When Kemp tries to re-enter the house to retrieve Chenault, he's told that they're closed and that she's having a wonderful time by a man at the door. Kemp returns the next morning to look for Chenault, but he finds nothing. Sulla suggests that she may have made it back to the boat, but Kemp doubts that Sanderson would allow her to board again. As they head in that direction, Sanderson tells him to mind his own business. He asks for the car keys back and informs him that he blew it, as he drives away. When Sulla and Kemp return from their trip, Moberg sells them a motorcycle and even offers to include some strong drugs if they inspect his genitalia. He believes there is a problem with it. So, naturally, he wants his closest friends to take a look at it. Kemp examines it and determines that something is seriously wrong with it. Sulla and Kemp sit to do the drugs after Moberg leaves, but they don't really feel anything. They then begin to trip like they've never before. They decide to drink more rum and take a walk by the beach as a solution. Everything returns to normal the next morning. A knock at the door comes. Kemp discovers Chenault when he comes to the door. Kemp opens the door for her. He goes to the newspaper to inform Lauterman about Sanderson's deception. Lauterman is absolutely opposed to him. Kemp, on the other hand, travels to Sanderson's house to collect some of Chenault's belongings. After some time, he returns home to check on her, and Chenault appears to have made herself at home. Sulla, on the other hand, shows Kemp a letter he received in the mail. Kemp is in trouble as a result of his relationship with Chenault. The tie between the two of them was actually broken by Sanderson. Chenault determines that this is a good moment to have some pleasure with Kemp, but Moberg interrupts him to inform him that the publishing company has been closed down. All of the employees congregate at a bar to talk about their possibilities. Kemp decides to print one last edition of the newspaper to retaliate against Lauterman and everyone else who has been using it. When they get to the house, Kemp discovers that Chenault before leaving has left him $100. Kemp comes up with the idea of betting on high-end cockfights after understanding they'll require a lot of money. To empower the fowl, they take the rooster to Moberg's witch doctor. Here we believe she just spat up a frog, so it must be magic.
Kemp and Salah later take the rooster to the major bouts, where they win the first round. When Kemp attempts to contact Moberg, he discovers that he is not available. Later, he tries again, and Moberg apologizes for not responding. When the rooster wins the final fight, Moberg tells Kemp that everyone is at the building and everything is set to go. When Kemp and Salah get at the paper company, they discover that everything has vanished. Moberg lets them in to take a look around, and we learn that they earned about $6,000. Moberg tells him that's all they need to pay off their bond or they'll be gone. However, Kemp decides not to run and instead will board one of Sanderson's boats. They arrive at the dock, where Kemp prepares to board the boat. Salah bids his farewells, and Kemp sets sail towards the sunset. Finally, Kemp's award-winning literature was published, and he returned to New York to marry Chanel. He managed to make it all work out in the end. Unfortunately, he died in 2005, but it appears that he accomplished what he set out to do. And the movie ends here. I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Comment down below which movie should I recap next.